all Burgundy and gold, everything with the urban sports scene on Fox Sports Radio, 96.9 FM and 1340 AM, Hopewell, Virginia. Wole, Ray, myself, and Mo, we are your guests. We're scheduled to have Fred Smoot on tonight, but right now it's just me and the brother Wole, and you already know what it is. It's the pandemic. We having to do this social distance thing, Zoom, and not everybody can make it right now, but we're going to work through it. We're going to have a great show tonight. We're going to discuss the possibility of the Washington football team trading up to draft Trey Lance. Should they do it? I'm already telling you my answer. Let's do this, Wole. What's good, brother?
What's good, man? You know what I'm saying? Like, Ray, we both went to college together, so you already know, over the last some odd weeks with the weekend, the DMX was my guy. He passed away. I even played the music, like the instrumental of, the Rough Riders anthem. Saying T.I., you put me on the T.I., but DMX was my first dude. Like, that was my dude. Like, that was my favorite rapper. Like, that was the dude.
I enjoyed your story last week about Michael Jackson. I had to laugh a little bit.
I know you did. I know you would.
Of course, it's a difficult moment, but the fact that DMX was your first CD, I'm sorry, brother. You grew up a little bit different, even though you grew up right down the street. You grew up a lot.
I know, but you know what's so funny? Like, after I said that, I do like so DMX is the first CD I bought, but the first tape I bought was Mace's album Harlem World. That was the first tape I bought.
You wow, dude! You look like a New York guy, and then you transitioned
to like the West. It's funny. I was in New York, so I was not prior to that. Like, I don't know how I got a Tupac. I was getting Tupac stuff, but I didn't pay for that joint. Like, I wasn't getting Pac. I wasn't paying for Pac stuff, but I was listening to Pac. So I had got Pac albums, but out of my own, like, my money. Like, out of my Jeepers money, because I'm dating myself, out of my Jeepers salary, Beltway Plaza, bro, I was purchasing, like, I got a Mace tape, and when I got a CD player, that that X, that first is dark, and Hell is Hot, that was it. You know what I'm saying?
I think The Chronic might have been my first actual CD, or Snoop Dogg's first album. What was that, Dog Food? That might have been my first. I don't know if that's the name of it. I forgot. But back then, man, high school, we would dub and go-go tapes.
Exactly.
College, baby. So that's what made me think about it. So anyway, still a tough loss regardless. You hate to see someone lose their life, especially someone battling addiction. If you learn more about me, that's kind of the area that I work in outside of when I'm on the urban sports scene, or on all Burgundy and gold, everything. Excuse me.
Yeah.
But regardless, just like the Washington football team lost Chantel, anytime you lose somebody who was great ahead of their time, it hurts. And let's just pay our respect. You pray for his family, and let's really be people who follow what we say, and our actions actually speak louder than our words, because everybody can say prayers up and all that. I can't stand that, man.
I hate that. I agree.
Prayers up for the dude accent. Thoughts and prayers, like, nah, come on, bro. Like, we already know that you don't mean that. It's just a saying, and that's not how I roll. And like I told you on the other show, I'm a big fan of Belly. Belly is a classic movie, and it goes right in line with the great hip-hop artists turned actors. Again, Q, Pop are the ones that come to mind. Even T.I., my man, you mentioned him already. T.I. has actually made a nice transition in the actor. Even though American Gangster, you weren't really feeling his role.
His role sucked, but he was in the movie.
Shout out to my man Common. Common has also made the transition.
Oh, yeah.
And shout out to X, because X only really had that one movie where he was that guy, that feature role, but still, it's a classic, and it's meant to be mentioned with the great rapper / actor.
And also, I want to tap into something you said on our other show, but I think it needs to be stated here too, because I think it's very important. Is that when people pass, then we start to give acknowledgement, right? We call it, give that individual their flowers, right? Because this has now been a trendy thing, but it's so factual, like, it's so real. Like, now you see the outcry and you see people kind of giving X's credit, where I wish that he would have got some of that while he was living. I think he did to a certain extent. I think when, like, the blessing of Versus, like something like Versus, when he had him and Snoop, like, you saw him getting his flowers. People, like, they went back into that mode of where, they first saw X, right? Like, for a lot of individuals our age, you tap back into that your younger self, and you're like, yo, at that particular time, like, dude was like, there was few like him, and you kind of remember that, and you were giving him his props and his appreciation. And even with the interaction with him and Snoop, you saw the back and forth, respect from the two of them. And each other giving each other props and, you know, giving them their flowers and this, that, and the other. So to me, I think that to a certain extent he did get that. But I wish I wish the appreciation had been a little bit more while he was living, because to your point, you know, we all do that. We all fall prey to that. You know what I'm saying? Like, we tell these individuals how much we care about them or how great they were or whatever when they're gone, but we don't say that enough when they're around.
Right. So I appreciate doing the show with you. I'm gonna tell you that today.
Same here, man.
You know, we got a lot of time left together, but still,
exactly.
We have our own verses until Mo jump in here. So
exactly.
At this point, I'm not really wanting to debate. I'm just going to reiterate what, if you listen to the other show, what I've already said about my feelings in terms of what Washington football should do.
Let's go right into it.
And as a team moving forward.
Yeah, let's go right into it. You mentioned about Trey Lance. The Washington football team has now been linked to Trey Lance. You have NFL analyst Michael Lombardi reported that the Washington football team is not just likes Trey Lance; they love North Dakota the North Dakota starting quarterback. To you, Ray, what is Trey Lance's ceiling from what you've heard? I know you said I know you haven't seen him play, but from what you gathered, what do you think his ceiling is? I know it's hard. I know, right?
And the reason is because what mobile quarterback have you seen reach the pinnacle in the NFL?
Mobile?
Exactly.
Like, other than like what you mean, like
I'm talking.
I'm not
talking Steve Young mobile. That's not Michael Vick. That's not Lamar Jackson. That's not even Patrick Mahomes. Sorry, Miss Mahomes. I'm talking about that style quarterback. And I don't like to limit black quarterbacks to just mobility, because there's so much more than that. So let me not say that. But his style of play, from what we've seen, again, I didn't watch much of it in college, but what we've seen in videos and what we've seen and workouts, he has all the tools. He has the strong arm. He has the accuracy. He can throw across the field. But again, unfortunately, he's going to get compared to who? The guys that I'm mentioning.
Yeah, he
Michael Vick, Lamar Jackson. It's just how we are. I mean, it is what it is. And I say we, the media, fans. We judge people as to how we can compare them or who we can compare them to. That's coming out right. So a guy that plays with his skill set hasn't really reached that pinnacle in the National Football League. I'm just being real. So I don't know if his ceiling might be, though, someone who can lead you to winning seasons consistently. And for Washington football fans, there's some that will be content with that. But from what I've seen from Riverboat Ron and where this franchise is moving, they want to get back to the glory days, and that's winning a title. And I don't know if that's going to be his ceiling. His ceiling he may just be an athletic quarterback with a strong arm who may will a franchise to victories. But will he get you to that pinnacle? I think his ceiling is someone who can be consistently a winner, but maybe not a champion, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. He's getting comped to, and I can see it, to a Josh Allen, a guy who went to a smaller school, mobile quarterback, big arm. But again, I think Allen got to the AFC Championship game. But you don't know. Again, not a lot of people. Again, even that comp, right? It's still complicated because everybody, other than unless you're an NFL scout for real, everybody thinks they know enough about Trey Lance. They don't know anything. They've seen that with YouTube clips, just like us. And you can't say you've been watching North Dakota State games. I think you'd be lying if you would tell me that you watched enough. You can say you go back and you watch the tape, but how much tape are you watching? You're not watching tapes from every single game, because last season he didn't really play last year that much. He played the year before last. So how much did you really watch? Did you watch all of his games from that year? Did you watch all of his games from his freshman year to now? Because you still need the maturation process to know where a player came from. So we are, like you're saying, right? We're all in the green when it comes to when it comes to Trey Lance. Now we can only go off of what you see in terms of arm strength, mobility, and also he won a lot in college. So you can kind of say that he's a winner, right? In college, you can go with that avenue. Say he's a winner in college, though it's not the same type of competition that some of these other quarterbacks have seen. But on the flip side, you can also have the argument that he didn't play with a Waddle. He didn't play with a Devontae Smith to make, you know what I'm saying? He didn't play with these guys that would make life that much easier, right? You can use that as an argument because that was the argument for certain, quarterbacks against certain players from Alabama. So, But to the end of the day, like, he's a guy that I've just by watching clips of, I've told folks that I like him. I don't like him enough to say you're trading the bank for, but I do like him. I do think he possesses a skill set that if you nurture and tailor, it can be elite. I believe it can be elite, but to me, he's not a starter day one. Like even, and I was wrong with Josh Allen. Like when I saw Josh Allen playing the league, I was like, that first year, I was like, this dude ain't going to last. But you never we know this too, to raise just people who watch sports, and we always talk about competition. You don't know if that person got a dog in them. You don't know what kind of work that person's putting in the all season to kind of prove everybody wrong, right? So I don't know what this kid has in him to say, you know what? You think I can't read defenses? I'm going to show you I can read defenses. You don't think I'm that accurate? I'm going to show you how accurate I am, because that's what Josh Allen did. Because a lot of people read him off for 2 years and thought he can be the guy that he is now. You know what I mean? If you watch him play this season, that's not just because Stephon Diggs is there. That's there because that's work. Like what he was doing is work. So he has an opportunity to be that guy. I think his ceiling to me is like a Josh Allen, is a guy that could be like a Carson Wentz. I do think he has that type of capability. In terms of talent. Now we could talk about the capability of talent, but still, again, it's all predicated on the kid. How much work is he willing to do? And also the situation, bro. Like who drafts him? Like, and this is the way I would ask Washington football fans. If you get a Trey Lance, do you have faith that Scott Turner is going to put him in the best situation to be successful?
It's a difficult question to answer right now. There has to be growth at the coordinator position. Scott Turner has to grow as well. I don't think it's the best situation, but if you sit him out for a year, it could potentially work out. And, honestly, now that I'm sitting here thinking about it, and we'll get there, my whole thought process is you want to build around the defense. Let's not put too much emphasis on quarterback, even though, of course, the quarterback is important. But I shared my argument on the other show. But if you do have a really strong defense and Trey Lance just comes in and he brings his greatest attributes to the table, he minimizes turnovers. You can win with him. But again, like you referenced, it should not come at a significant cost. I like what Taj said on Twitter. If he drops below 9, let's trade up. But let's not trade too much to try to get in the top 5 to get him. No, we're not doing that. And I think that's a perfect approach to addressing the quarterback situation, which you've already addressed it. But if you can potentially look at the future in a guy like Trey Lance, then why not think about it? And it's okay to, as a football team, to evaluate that.
But to your point, Ray, we said this numerous of times on this show. And I know we just laugh at it, but sustained success, right? But it's the truth though. To a certain extent.
Sustained success?
Yeah, sustained success. Like, and I said this on our text with Mo, because Mo had texted us about Trey Lance, and I was like, yeah, I doubt this is true. They're not going to trade the bag for Trey Lance because if you're going prior to what's going on with Deshaun Watson, prior to the noise, right? If you weren't going to do that with Deshaun Watson, who's a young quarterback, we're talking about a young quarterback who's super young, even at this age, even now, he's super young. If you weren't going to give up the bank for him, then you're not going to probably give up the bank for a Trey Lance. You know what I'm saying? So I don't think, even though Michael Lombardi may have sources to say that Washington loves this team, loves this kid. I don't know if they love him enough to just give up draft picks, because these draft picks, again, we said this before, like this team got into, and to Mo's point, I'm gonna give Mo credit, this team got to won the division being 7-9, right? 7-9. So they're not that good enough. They're not good enough to say, you know what, we can trade our picks and we just added Trey Lance and this team is going to be a better football team. They need to sprinkle these players, these draft picks around, you know what I mean? Because to make them a better football team, because even though Trey Lance could be the future, he would still have some learning. He would have some learning curves. Some learning issues as a rookie starting quarterback.
Here's what I think, though, in response to Mo, and I love Mo, but he's talking about a team that came into the season with Dwayne Haskins at quarterback, with no real offseason because of COVID. So you got to factor in that maybe they weren't good enough to overcome the COVID pandemic or situation, as well as a team who has like an Aaron Rodgers at quarterback, who has a coaching staff that is already well prepared. You got your guys in your system. You know, a new coach was coming in. He's trying to figure out who he had. He already talked about he being Ron Rivera. Already said, I regret not having an open competition last year because he was trying to instill confidence in Dwayne. So there's a lot into why they went 7-9. When they turned it on at the right time, the record went out the window because they were a scary team. And arguably they played the Super Bowl champion, the eventual Super Bowl champion, the toughest. So for me, I'm thinking that we're moving on from last season. It's great to build off, but it's over. So now it's focusing on the future. And you know, I do think the sustained success route is a great approach. And honestly, if they were to acquire Trey Lance or draft Trey Lance, man, he could result in having success. And I'm okay with that. But I feel like for the most part, this franchise wants to win a Super Bowl. And I guess people will say, well, we're years from that. You never know. You really don't. You don't know. And someone asked me the other day, and I'm glad Mo's not on yet, because a friend of mine, he's like, and he said, is Eli Manning a Hall of Famer? And it's a tough question because I said,
it's
if
tough.
You just factor in that he's undefeated against Tom Brady in the Super Bowl, right there, that sways the momentum in his
It makes
favor.
you think he's a Hall of Famer,
We've already gone through Troy Aikman and Randall Cunningham comparing the numbers and saying that the only difference is Super Bowl victory.
The only difference, dude.
My point is, the quarterback matters, it does. But as we saw with a guy like Eli Manning wasn't great.
He wasn't.
But he beat the GOAT twice.
Yeah, but he made key plays in them joints too, though.
Exactly.
He
That's
made key plays, though.
Maybe we should not put too much stock into who's behind center, even though it is an important position. But all it takes is one injury. Dak Prescott, he got the bag. But he also got the injury last year this season. So with what we've seen, the strength of this football team is, I think you build upon what you've already began to start last season. You move away from the record, but you focus on, all right, this is our core. We got two strong defensive-minded coaches, and that's my thought process. But again, I don't think there's a right or wrong answer. I just want to say it for debate purpose. I ain't trying to debate it.
No, I feel you. No, I feel like I'm the same way. Like I can go either which way. I think this is the point for most Washington fans. I think I feel like I'm accurate by saying this. If they trade for Trey, if they get Trey Lance in a trade or whatever, I think they'll be happy. I think if they don't get him, they'll be happy. I feel like it doesn't anyway. I feel like if they got Trey Lance, you would have a lot of people excited about it. Even people like who are kind of negative on it now, they would be excited about it. I feel like they would look at the situation and depending on what they do in the draft after getting him, then people would kind of feel a certain way. You know what I mean? Like I feel like because quarterbacks always bring you some type of excitement. It's the truth. Like regardless of what people say, they always bring you some type of excitement. But I will say this was a caveat though. My only issue about bringing and I know some of the listeners on the show are going to look at me sideways, but I will say this. There is something about getting, I'm going to say this, I'm trying to be PC, but it just seems like black quarterbacks in this area, it don't really work out like it should. Like they get a lot of bad press. And they get polarizing for some strange reason. It's a polarized situation.
I think it's the situation they're being brought into.
Okay.
I think it's a good situation for Trey Lance.
Okay.
Robert Griffin didn't have a good situation. You had a coach that the speculation was he didn't want him. He drafted Kirk Cousins along with him.
Yeah.
And then you had another coach come in and Jay Gruden who did not want him, clearly. And then you factor in that he was injured. He was often injured. And that was the end of him. Yeah. So that was a bad situation. Dwayne Haskins is somebody who you knew needed work to develop. You knew, and to your
and the coach didn't like him either.
As a man, he had that process was ongoing, and he was in a different phase in comparison to, let's say, Andrew Luck or someone who came into the draft who was so poised and professional.
Andrew Luck was
Patrick Mahomes, who they're ready for the moment, and they're at a point in their life where they can take the pressures, they can handle the rigors that is playing professional football. Dwayne Haskins wasn't ready. Clearly, you know, when you let somebody snap you and you're stripping, and you're stripping, and you're at the strip club with no mask on, that's a lapse in judgment. Because dude, come on now, we've been in locker rooms. We know who smokes weed. We know who goes out. wins and losses. We know. I'm serious. We do. We know what goes on. We're aware. But you know somebody when you went to a pool party of a certain professional athlete, he said no phones allowed. That's the first thing he said, right?
Yeah.
Put your phone up.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, it's certain, and I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying you got to have a mindset, man, to where you know, okay, I'm gonna have my fun. You're young, you're in your early 20s, you want to do certain things, but at the same time, you have to know how to navigate that, or you're going to end up flaming out. And that happens to too many young athletes, unfortunately, where the lifestyle becomes bigger. We had a guest on our other show. He talked about the sacrifices, and I don't think Dwayne was ready to make the full sacrifice and commitment to be successful in the league. It just is what it is. And I'm not saying I would be
I wouldn't
swayed in that direction either if I was his age.
I wouldn't either. I'm honest with me. I know I would be the worst. I'm honest
with chili.
Oh, bro, man, you couldn't tell me nothing, bro. You couldn't tell me nothing. I would be humble, but I would still do me. Like I'm a firm believer that I would be humble, but I would still do me. Like I don't know about the strip party thing though. Like I think that's dumb. I don't think that's to put yourself in that situation right after a game. I think that's kind of dumb. I just think, and also I would like to judge the people who do a strip party and allow phones in there. That's a whole different argument too. That's a whole.
So there you go. But you know what? To be fair, it's a different era we're living in. Me and you, we had flip phones. We had straight up big block phones when we were so we ain't gonna talk about that though. Let's move forward. Trey Lance appears to be mature enough at this point to be able to come into a situation and win. But I'm thinking you don't go that route. I'm thinking you build defensively. You play good defensive football. You run the football. You control clock, and that's how you grind it out. And if you have the right quarterback, whether you have somebody who maybe they're not the top notch quarterback, not the top name like who you have on your roster right now, that's okay. I still think that you can win the division, even though the division seems like it's a little bit better. But as you said, it's on paper right now. The only evidence that we have is that Washington football team right now has the strongest defense in this division, and they're the defending champ. So that's cool.
Is the division that much better? That's a good point. I will say this though about like the quarterback situation. Because we've seen it, depending on who the coordinator is and what they do, and you're talking about the defense, because we've seen. I'll use this as a reference to anybody who tries to uplift pro football's quarterbacks, and you got to have a quarterback that throws 5,000 yards. Did you watch the San Francisco 49ers game where Garoppolo threw the ball 8 times in the playoff game? And they beat the crap out of a team in a playoff game. Like they beat it. So you can, and San Francisco basically should have beat the Kansas City Chiefs if it wasn't for Kyle doing Kyle stuff. So like you don't have to have a guy who throws for 5,000 yards to win a championship. You can arguably say that, to be honest with you, other than Tom Brady, Pat Mahomes, like if you look at the Super Bowl, other than like Tom Brady, what quarterback and Pat Mahomes really break it down to like has like dominated like the Super Bowl like that in terms of top tier quarterbacks? Who won the last Super Bowls? Like Tom Brady, it's Tom Brady. Wilson. He was a manager at the time. He was a manager at the time.
I mean, you asked the question. I'm giving you the answer.
He was a manager in that year. He was a manager, but that's Russ, a manager, right?
Well, yeah, and then. Nick Foles, you know what I'm saying?
You're naming for me.
You can win a Super Bowl without having
that's my point.
That's my point. Now, see, people are going to argue with me. Somebody already said on Twitter, you cannot necessarily win like the 2000 Ravens in this day and age. Yes, you can. And here's why. Tampa just did it. I know they had Tom Brady, but that was not the same Tom Brady.
Not the same Tom Brady.
He's not throwing 3 picks for New England 6 years ago. No. He threw 3 picks in the second half of the NFC Championship
and still
game
won
at Lambeau Field. Why? That means the defense stepped up.
The
defense stepped up in the Super Bowl and stopped the highest scoring offense in the NFL.
The defense fried twice, dog. Other than Washington, Tom Brady torched Washington, right? I mean, and even that was like torture speed strong, man. Right. But against the Saints, he struggled against the Saints, and he struggled against the Packers. Like he wasn't great. Like he wasn't great. So, like to your point, you can, if you have a really good defense, your quarterback play can be so-so. The image of Tom Brady, okay, yeah, he's Tom Brady. Definitely. It helps. It's Tom. I'm not going to say that it doesn't, but we're looking at when you're talking about top tier quarterback play, like because again, I'm gonna say this, other than Pat Mahomes for real, and Tom Brady's, his stint of winning championships, you can't name me a dude that we've deemed elite really win championships like that. Like Breeze won one, as great as Aaron Rodgers won one.
Peyton Manning won two, and his second win
And his second one wasn't
defensive.
That was not Peyton Manning.
No.
You know what I'm saying? He lost as great the year that he lost to Denver in the Super Bowl. Got blown out because of that Seattle defense. Russ was just managing that defense dominated. So I'm just saying, like,
boom, there you go.
Legion of Boom. Man. So you gotta
see now. Can Trey Lance be Russell Wilson? That's the thing.
Can manage. He can manage.
But the point we're making is perfect because it shows that it's mental too. I remember Tony Gonzalez saying, "I believe Matt Ryan is great, but it's something holding him back from finishing games." And it was in their minds that we don't know we're going to win, but we believe we're close. But with Tom Brady, I'm not gonna lie, that did help to say we got the guy. We know he's going to finish games. I agree. So here's the thing with Washington, though. Whether you have Fitzmagic on the field or whether you have Trey Lance on the field, does that change the mental or the mindset of your defense? Probably not. It's the same thing. So do you invest that heavily into him? No.
It just depends who your defense is, though. It depends who your defense is. Like, you're right, though. Like, it's something about having Tom Brady just makes you feel good about yourself. Like, I'm a firm believer. We believe that, right? Like, you got Tom Brady, you just feel good about yourself. So you just feel like you're going to win. But I do think that depending on, like, the Eagles, for some, like, the defense just believed in Nick Foles, right? They just believed in Nick Foles. Like, everybody, that team liked Nick Foles. Not to say that he was great.
That's coaching, too.
Yeah, that's coaching, too. I agree. They liked him, right? So they bought in. But to your point, again, it goes back to your point, is that, like, you can win without having that guy. Like, I love Deshaun Watson, but what has Deshaun Watson done in terms of winning in the postseason, winning postseason games? I'm talking about, like, getting to the level where we're talking about winning a championship, because we're all talking about winning championships. You name Nick Foles, that's a miscellaneous quarterback that got to Super Bowl. Garoppolo, who everybody is now trying to get rid of, got to Super Bowl, right? Not everybody's trying to get rid of him, saying that he's not that good. You look, Jared Goff got to the Super Bowl with the Rams, and everybody did last year was like, Jared Goff ain't that good for real. Jared Goff got to the Super Bowl. These quarterbacks ain't elite. You know what I'm saying? They not elite. They're not the guys that everybody's trying to make Washington get. Like, oh, you need to get that guy. Well, my question to you is, what's your definition of that guy? You know what I'm saying? That's what's the question? So if you get a Trey Lance, like, is Trey Lance going to be that guy? Because if he's not going to be that guy, like the Andrew Luck, because that's where, if you're going to trade up to get a quarterback that's dominant, like is an Andrew Luck, is a Patrick Mahomes, so we're just looking at hindsight. Those kind of guys, those are guys you trade up for because you feel like they can change your franchise, right? Is Trey Lance that guy? Probably not. Right now, like, I could say that, like, we don't know if he's that guy. So that's what I'm saying. Like, why not build around your team?
And here's the thing: is it's very scary to play the hindsight game, because if he goes into the right system, he could ball.
Oh, I think he'll be. Yeah,
we see that certain individuals, they benefit from playing certain systems, which is why when a guy leaves the team that he had the most success and he goes and gets paid, like a Malcolm Butler, for example, maybe he's not the same guy. He'll go get paid. Maybe that's not the greatest example. I'm just giving you a
no. I'll give you a good example.
What has happened over the years. There's many people have gotten paid based on a performance or how they fit into a certain system. Emmitt Smith wasn't like dope with the Cardinals. Many can say he was older, but still, he greatly benefited from offensive line. But there's certain special talents like Barry, who no matter where he played, he was going to ball. His team wasn't that good. But the question for me, and it's the last thing I want to say, is, Washington fans, what do you want? Do you want sustained success like I'm talking about, which I think would be beneficial from a fan perspective? I'm not a fan, so I'm cool with, hey, we can talk playoffs every year. We can talk about competitive, good football team every year. But the franchise wants to win a championship. And that's the discussion I feel like we're having in terms of quarterback. Because while quarterback is important, as we're discussing, if Nick Foles can win with Philly in the same division and a team that you always compete against, you can win. It can happen. You can win a Super Bowl. Absolutely. With a strong defense, when that defense of Tampa went up against a great, and I love saying a great offense led by Patrick Mahomes, they shut them down, and it made all the difference. So let's not overthink the process. Let's let it play out. Have yourself a winner. I'm not a fan again, but a real fan knows they want to see a Super Bowl winner.
No, I agree. And on Twitter, my folks from the Bleeding Burgundy podcast, they stated if and only if he starts to slide, then you can try and get him. there's zero reason to get him to go all in on a player with so many question marks. I probably wouldn't be happy if we traded up to number 4 for the 4th best quarterback in the draft. That just doesn't make any sense. I rate him a little bit higher than that, but I do agree. I agree with his premise. I'm not trading all the way up to the top 10 to get Trey Lance. I agree with that. I do think that he could be. I think he's 3. Arguably, you can make the argument that he's the second best quarterback. You can make the argument. I think he's just as good as the kid from BYU. I do think that we're going to be fair. I think Justin Fields is the second best quarterback in the draft. If we're going to be fair, right, within the whole, if we're going to use the argument that Trey Lance hasn't seen any competition, and then we're going to go BYU, like BYU saw more competition than Justin Fields. If we're going to use that premise and say, well, Trey Lance, he didn't do it against anybody. He played against some less competition, but you got a kid who played in BYU who didn't see the same competition that Justin Fields got to see. So you can't really, if you're going to use that argument, then it doesn't go every which way. So anyway, I'm
worried about Zach Wilson because whenever you got these certain media guys hyping you, I'm hating. They get paid a lot to be wrong. Because it's the same name every year that are draft experts. And while maybe they're right in terms of their predictions as to how the draft will play out and where certain players will be drafted. But other than that, they're like, oh, this is the next guy. Kyle Bowler, according to Mel Kiper, Kyle Bowler was that dude. He had a big arm, Ooh, come on. Listen, if we're being real, as Johnny Manziel, the NFL is such a huge step up. That it's a steep learning curve, and not many are going to succeed in their first season. Peyton Manning didn't, Tom Brady. So many guys they struggle out the gate because it's tough. The speed of the game alone. That was Johnny football's biggest issue was the speed of the game. When you look at BYU highlights,
oh my God,
it's so much slower than even your top tier college football game, which is why I think a guy like Trevor Lawrence or Justin Fields may be a little bit more prepared.
That's what I'm saying. I agree.
I understand the personnel. I understand the personnel, but you look at the SEC. That's playing against top tier competition, and even the SEC does not compare to the NFL in terms of speed and the power of guys.
And I agree. I think that there's signs that you can tell that somebody got ability, right? I'm a big believer in that. I think, to me, I saw it from Trevor Lawrence against at Bama as a true freshman. That's also all I need to see, dude. You played against NFL players as a true freshman, and you dissect them. I don't care what talent you had around them. As a true freshman, you did things that other quarterbacks who were probably well known couldn't do against that Bama squad, and you torched them. So I'm always going to be like, Trevor Lawrence is that guy. Like, he's shown me a resume. He's shown me year 1, year 2, like he can do this. The BYU kid is like, yeah, I see that he can make throws. It's cool that you can make certain throws. It's cute, man. It's very cute. You can make throws. You make good throws. But to your point, the speed is different, right? It's different. You're not playing against Bama or Clemson in a bowl game, right? You're playing against who I don't even know who you're playing against, to be honest with you. I can't even make an argument about who you're playing against. But you did see it. Now, it's critical, as I am critical about Ohio State quarterbacks. I don't believe that the system does allow them to look decent a certain way. But I will give credit when credit is due. What he did against Clemson, Fields did against Clemson, was beastly. That was his best college game by far. And he was threading needle, and that Clemson defense had pros, bro. And he was threading that defense, and they had nothing to do with him. So again, if we're looking at who does what against who, I'm a lean with Justin Fields before I go with the Zach Wilson, because now everybody Zach Wilson's gonna go number 2. It is what it is. Everybody pretty much they know he's going number 2. So, but I think he's a guy that has. Everybody want to hear it because they're so in love with him. Because, like you said, Ray, everybody's gassed him up, but he got bust potential. He got big time bust potential, like big time.
I don't think that the Jets should have made that trade with the Panthers, but that's just me anyway.
Yeah,
you could allowed him a year to kind of learn, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, definitely.
I feel like though we're having a great discussion, and it's not necessarily a debate. but we're all in agreement on the fact that you should not trade up and trade significant assets to get a Trey Lance.
Yeah, because
there it is.
Sustain success, baby. Sustain. That's what it is. That's what it's all about, man.
Hashtag it.
Hashtag. Hey, matter of fact, that's what you need to do, folks. You need to hashtag sustain success, and also at Urban Sports _Ray when you make that hashtag. So we need to make this thing trending. We need to make it trending worldwide. You know what I'm saying?
It will be a nice change from what you have been accustomed to around here to have multiple years of playoff appearances and competing at the highest level. You got to admit it, brother.
Bro,
but the franchise, Dan Snyder, he's all in. He's like, I'm owning this football team all out. He's making great hires. He's trying to establish a standard, brother. And a Super Bowl is his goal, period.
Yeah, why?
And it's supposed
to be. It should be. And you got to give credit when credit is due. He's letting other people run the organization. He letting football people run the organization, which is cool. And he's letting Coach Rivera do what he needs to do. And I'm enjoying it. I think, but I'm with you though. I want them to build this team, in terms of the draft, get certain young free agents. I don't need anybody super old, but young free agents. And then this is the most important thing in the draft. We're looking for quarterbacks. I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna yell this out. Get your guy, like whoever your guy is. If you're drafting, don't make yourself get somebody. Don't make yourself fall in love with somebody. It's just like a chick, man. Like you don't. Just because you don't want to just make yourself like a chick, you know what I'm saying? Like because you feel like you might want to, you need to settle down. No, you choose. You get a chick that is for you. You know what I'm saying? Don't just because you want to settle down, you just
sustain success.
Sustain success, bro. Like it goes everywhere. Y'all sustain success is in life, bro. This show is like this saying. It goes past sports, bro. Past the watch the football team. You know what I'm saying? Get somebody who for you. Same thing because of Coach Rivera. When it comes to a quarterback, get a quarterback for you, man. A quarterback that's going to make you happy. It's going to make you and love that quarterback back. That's all I'm saying. And that's real talk, Ray. And that, my friend, is real talk.
You guys, Mo never made it, Fred. Smoot never made it, but we have some great talking points in this show. I'm excited to see what the fans, what the people, what those individuals we interact with on a regular basis have to say. And how they feel, and I feel like we're all in agreement at least on one fact.
I know.
One point.
Don't trade up.
Draft. Don't trade too much.
Don't trade too much. Use your draft picks smart.
Maybe.
Huh? He may drop.
That's what Tyler said. If he drops past 9, then maybe you might want to think about it.
Man, past 9. If he dropped to like 15, you make that pick.
But I think Jalen Waddle is the pick for you guys in the first
round. I don't think you know what? Real quick before we roll, like you do know they got him going. See, this is what I tell folks that watch your stuff because it's a fact. It's a fact. And I said this to folks, and they were like, "Oh man, he ain't that good." Like some people try and knock Jalen Waddle. People got him over. Got him over Devontae Smith now, right? That's how they even had Devontae.
He got it.
Yeah, folks even had Devontae slipping. Possibly, I don't believe that. That I don't believe to Washington. You know what I mean? Now Waddle seemed like he the dude that they got Chase. Man. They got Chase 1, obviously. They got Chase 1. Though I think Waddle's gonna be better than Chase, though. But they got Chase 1. And they got Waddle. And this is coming off the ankle. So you already know how trill they think he is. So
look at Amari Cooper.
Yeah.
Amari Cooper has had serious injuries, but it hasn't changed his production level.
No, it hasn't. So
that Bama system produces those receivers, brother.
Look, you got one. You got two.
Amari Cooper is one of the best examples. Oh, you told Julio,
Julio and Ridley, yeah, seriously, you got two. Like I'm just saying, like that's why I be telling folks, they be trying to argue with me. I be like telling y'all, I be like, yo, you can say what you want to, but Bama, those receivers are legit. That's not a joke.
If you're gonna say that Ohio State produces bad QBs, then you gotta acknowledge that Alabama
produces wide receivers, bro. Yeah,
you can't use one argument, not use the other one.
Exactly, bro. You got to, dog. You got to. Sorry, man. So yeah, but hey, subscribe to our podcast on Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes, and Google Podcasts. Search all Burgundy and Gold, Errrything with the Urban Sports Scene. Also tweet us at Urban Sports Scene and hit us up on our Urban Sports Scene Facebook page. Man, we appreciate you all for listening into the show. Sorry that we didn't have my man Mo and the homie Fred Smoot on. Hopefully we'll try to get him back on. Get Fred Smoot back on. We'll have Mo back on. You already know because Mo is part of this this lovely family. Anyway, you've been listening to All Burgundy and Gold, everything with the urban sports scene on Fox Sports Radio 96.9 FM and 1340 AM. Hopewell, Virginia, about ages. Yiddy, deuces. Hey, Mega, lead us out, big homie.